Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses as we're back in action. Sarah L. Bodway and Andy Serling, we're back in action. Unfortunately, I was talking about this the other day. It rained so hard for 4 straight days, the Mets had to have a postponement because it wasn't even raining anymore. The field was so wet, and it's just unendurable. And unfortunately, it's supposed to pour again all day tomorrow. And the early report has it cleared through next week, but it's just it's a little disappointing, especially on the heels of Saratoga.
Right, especially since, just as you mentioned, we thought we were kind of getting away from the rainy weather, and such is not to be. But
yeah. But anyway,
here we are.
We're in action, 10 races. We are off the turf. Track is fast. It was a nice day yesterday. It's a little cloudy today. And after tomorrow, we'll keep our fingers crossed that maybe we'll at some point get a stretch of good weather. But it certainly has
nice next week.
been, it's supposed to be nice this week too. So I'm starting to even get like the other
weatherman.
pessimists and just wonder if it's ever going to stop at this point. But anyway, head over to NYRA Bets. If you're not a member of NYRA Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200 and we'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. We have the middle pick 4, races 2, 4, and 7 on our 10 race card today, and we'll get this all straightened out. The show starts at 1 today. We are on from 1 to 6 today. 1 to 6 on FS2, covering all the action today. I want to remind people we have an early post on Saturday of 12:05. We did that because we only have coverage. We can only have a window from 12 to 3:30 on FS2 or on Fox at all. So we're going to broadcast the first 7 races, which will include all the stakes on Saturday, but we'll be on, of course, the rest you can watch on the NYRA YouTube channel as well. Race number 1. I don't think there's any doubt that Nikitas, the number 3, and the number 5, Caitlin and Her Greatness, and we'll show that replay. They're the right 2 horses. I thought that probably it was similar between the 2 of them. I didn't have a strong opinion which one I preferred between them. I thought they were the right 2.
No,
I didn't pick them, but I think they're the right 2.
Me either. You and I both went in a different direction here, but these are the 2 horses to beat, and I feel as though they both ran respectably well on in this race that they were coming out of. Caitlin Her Greatness was debuting, and here she was a little bit closer to the pace. The horse that ended up finishing 4th was another one that was involved early. Nikitas ran on a little bit, and they both got run down and beat by another horse. I didn't see a ton to separate them either, just like you didn't, and I think that you're going to be taking a very short price in either direction that you go in here with either of them.
Yeah, something tells me backstretch rows won't be a similar 2 to 1 as we get closer to post. What is your reasoning on Kingdom Come?
It's more of a dirt pedigree, at least as one of the half-sibling goes. This one is, of course, the half to Art Collector, who we know as a Mach trainee as well. He won $4.2 million in his career, and I liked that this horse had a little bit more of a progression in terms of professionalism from the first to the second start, even though it wasn't necessarily a progression in terms of finish and numbers that she ran, because she was really keen in fighting the rider first time out and was further back. Second start, a little bit up closer, didn't have as much of a kick, but I like that she was at least a little more malleable and closer to the pace second time.
Don't you think it's just a function of Junior and Bill Mott learning from the first time that there's no reason to strangle the horse back and just allow her to run a little more? So I don't know if I'd say it's professional. I just think it was a case of the rider not totally getting in the way of their horses, and I think it's just another example, in my opinion, of riders too often deciding how a horse wants to run as opposed to letting the horse tell them how to run. The problem is he didn't do any running. But as you say, it really isn't a turf pedigree. Now, maybe Bill ran him going long the same way he did with Pioneer of the Nile years ago, running him long, going on the turf. And then once he got to synthetic and dirt, he was a better horse. And I'm hoping that's the case, too, with the pedigree. And just feels like a barn that sometimes you don't worry as much if they make these switches, and maybe they just wanted to go longer, and we'll see how it works out. What about Halcyon on the outside for Chad Brown? Didn't take much money first time out. I feel like a horse they paid a lot of money for after a good 2-year-old sales work. I wonder if this horse can improve second time, but she better improve a ton.
I'm just not totally convinced that she comes out of the strongest maiden special weight that we saw at Saratoga either. I mean, that was on August 6th. It was won by Empire Ireland, and the horses that have run back since then have been okay, but it's not exactly a race that's screaming everybody out of here has improved and done so much better next time out.
Right, but I don't think that would be the logic of why you would use her in here. I think your feeling is they spent a lot of money for her, and it's Chad Brown. It's going to be a bit of a price in here, and maybe you just feel like she can improve second time out. I don't think you're looking at it and saying she comes out of a key race. I won't be surprised if she runs better. Whether or not better is enough to win this race remains to be seen. Race number 2, the 3 Bowl of Cherries will be a big favorite in here. And we'll take a look at her last dirt race when she won at Monmouth. And I know David Jacobson is the most random trainer I've ever seen, especially for somebody that wins. And he's very hard to read from week to week, from race to race, and often 4 days and 5 days. And she'll probably win here, but this is a dump job. I mean, I know she can run on the turf, but first of all, there's still a couple months left in the turf season.
Right.
And even forgetting about that, I mean,
And she was running a little bit better on the turf as well. I know those were tougher horses, but she was running a little bit better in terms of her Beyer speed figures too.
but she is out of conditions. So he then has to find that condition being run and wait for it. But she can run in the dirt as well, and it's a long winter. So she's just being dumped here, and I don't trust her.
Right, and I think too, when you're looking at which two horses make sense in here on paper, and you and I have gone to the other one, Misdemeanor, I looked at how these two trainers are doing with switching their turf horses back to the dirt, and Weaver's stats are so astronomically better than Jacobson's, who is 1 for 17 switching back from turf to dirt. He's only 6%. I know that she has run well on dirt before, so it's different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't love seeing that.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the stat for Jacobson because he's not a trainer that has a lot of turf horses. So for the most part, when he's taking a shot with one of his bad turf horses going on the dirt, they may just be turf horses. This horse actually has dirt form. As far as George with Misdemeanor, and we'll take a look at that race, I'm not sure what to do with her. She is either a somewhat clever pick, though it's 7-2. There's nothing clever about liking her, or she's a moronic pick, which she very well may be, even though I picked her as well. We can show that replay, guys, going back to her win on August 18th of 2021. She did beat a bunch of turf horses that day, and I'm just not totally convinced this race is going to transfer.
That's completely fair, and she does only have this one. It was her best Beyer speed figure of an 82 that day, and I know Weaver's had the recent success going dirt to turf with horses like Sacred Wish and Today's Flavor, and so now we're going the opposite direction, but he does actually have better numbers with that move. I think that she's just not quite competitive enough to take the next step up on the grass, so they have to find somewhere else for her to go, and it seems like she could possibly be competitive here.
Well, and they're also hoping to get her claim, would be my guess in here, but I wouldn't blame them. She's a 5-year-old mare. Where exactly they go with them, and you're absolutely right. She's not, they're going to have to cope. There's lower level claiming races on the turf, and they might as well take a shot in the dirt. If she doesn't get claimed, they can see if she has any dirt ability based on that race she does. I didn't think timed out was impossible in this race. I mean, I don't think it's just the 1 and 3. She is claimed by the Nodas. I know the Nodas aren't, the sort of magic is gone, but I don't think she's impossible. She's sort of, if you think that Bolicherry's is suspect, Misdemeanor doesn't have to win. I thought timed out was possible. I would use her a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I would say that maybe not a trip last time, but at least slightly inconvenienced on multiple occasions throughout the running of that race where she finished second to 2 at T. I mean, she was at least steadied back a little bit, didn't break that sharply, had to wait a little bit for room. And I think those inconveniences matter more at this level than they would at a higher level of horse.
Race number 3 is off the turf, and I guess Chigway does not want to run Conversing on dirt, even though he finished second to the Ultimate Remsen winner, the only starter, because I think he scratched his horse off the turf in Saratoga as well, and a lot of these horses, Right to Win, Conversing, these horses have been entered over and over and over again, and they get rained off every single time. As we take a look at, I think I have a replay of Quality Chick's last race. I know he's a hanger. I understand. He's found a field that he can't lose to, so I'm not trying to beat him. I don't see any reason to. They beat the rest of the field by a pole, and yeah, he was the right bet last time at 5-1 against Black Rain's ridiculous 3-5 or something, and he probably should have won. He is a hanger, but he'll probably win today.
If he doesn't win this race, I don't know where they're going to find a spot for him because this is
I
the
agree.
one. Before all of these scratches and with Conversing still in the race, I took a look at Malibu Springs, and I'm going to keep him on top as just an alternative who does have some speed and comes out of a race on debut that was won by Saudi Crown. He was off for a long time after that. He came back at Monmouth in September. He was a speed and fade. Maybe he just needed one off the layoff. He did seem like the only possible alternative to me in here.
No argument with that. I will say you have to think Trevor is going to be aggressive with When Love Takes Over. So I don't know for sure this horse. When Love Takes Over, for some reason they decided he wanted to come from dead last in the turf. I think he's more of a speed type, and I think if he's going to be effective here, they're going to have to be forward. And it does worry me a little with Malibu Springs that he's an ex-Pletcher, but he is obviously the only real alternative to the 9 in a race where I'm not sure alternatives matter. The dirt races basically held together today, which is a good thing. We really didn't lose horses in the dirt races. And I think race 4 was interesting. And I want to start in race 4 as we move our picks over. Give you a second. By talking about the 1 Abaddon, because I think Abaddon's going to be the main speed in here. Whether or not that helps him or not, I did want to show the start of his last race because while he was never winning the last race, he actually didn't run that badly. I'll let you guys cue that up. But he completely blew the brake last time out and lost any chance. And frankly, it was a track that was, and a race that was totally dominated on the front end. He lost all chance in the start. So I can forgive his last race. And his race 2 back is good enough to be a major contender here. And I'm concerned he's going to be loose.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to be that loose. I mean, he's going to be forward and could be the speed of the speed in here, but I think that Sundays with Sandy and Set Sail more so are both going to try and at least keep him company early on in this race. And he hasn't not broken well, or he hasn't gotten out of the gate well a couple of times in the past, and he's sort of on this every other pattern where his race 3 back wasn't that great. His race 2 back could win here. His race last time he had an excuse. So he's good, and he's going to be forward in here, but I think there could be some other speed to his outside.
Yeah, we'll see.
And if he doesn't break that well from the rail in here, he's going to have to figure out an alternative.
Well, you always have to worry about that, obviously, if he doesn't break. But you can't really go, at least I don't go on the assumption that horses are going to get left. I didn't pick him. I actually like Looney Sema. We'll go back to Looney Sema's win, and this was on the claiming championship day on March 25th. And I like a number of things about this horse. I like that Peter Walder has given this horse a break, because he had been running and running and running and running. And I think Peter very intelligently realized that A, his form was falling apart. B, where was he going to go? He wasn't winning in Saratoga, so he would have had to go to Monmouth to try to find a spot. And he's more of a elongated one-turn sprint type, so you want to be in, Aqueduct to run those races. And I just think it was a very logical claim. I hope Eric Hansel gets back soon, but I certainly don't mind Javier picking up, though Eric gave this horse a brilliant ride in that race he won. He's been gelded since then. And I have a thing for this horse, and at times this horse is just too fast for these horses. And I thought his price would be fair. So I thought you get, how much pace is he going to get? I don't know. That's the question. I don't disagree with you that horses like the 4 and the 5 are supposed to be forward. How much they're going to press.
Whether or not they will.
Yeah, I just don't have any trust.
But they should be.
But I like him. And Looney Sema is a bit of a tricky horse to ride because he doesn't have a long extended run, but he has a good run. You've gone to Register, and we'll take a look at Register's win on February 18th, and you can talk about him.
I know that he's a horse that has this one big number, and that's sort of what people might look at with him. But I think that this is not necessarily indicative of who he truly is, though.
So why are you picking him? He better be this horse.
He doesn't necessarily have to be a 93 horse. He can be a mid-80s type of horse and still be okay. He's also a horse that he's a little bit more underexposed than some of them because this was his only dirt route race where he didn't get hurt, because I think that he had an injury when he ran in the following start in that stakes race at Laurel, causing him to be off for this length of time and not seeing him again until now.
I agree, but I'm going to say a couple of things. First of all, that race is proven to be phony. Second of all, he rode a gold rail that day. That's my biggest problem with him. And now he's coming off the layoff, and he's meeting a field of relative tigers. I get it, and somewhere in there he feels like a good horse, but this is a tough race off a layoff for him, isn't it?
Yeah, no, this is a decent field. It's not like he gets in easy in a spot like this. I think today he's just going to be a fair enough price, and that there could more so be some untapped ability with him. He's a half to High Oak, actually, who is thankfully coming back into some sort of form after not really showing as much after he had that incident.
But he's 9-2 morning line. Do you think 9-2 is a fair price on him?
Compared to what the even board is on some of the other horses that make a lot of sense as far as top contenders, yeah.
Okay, I could see him at 10-1 being a play in here. I disagree. I think at half that price. And maybe he won't be 9-2. Maybe he'll be 8-1. I have trouble making him here, but I get it. He does have that one big fig. The problem is it doesn't hold up to scrutiny, and he was on a gold rail. That's what worries me, but we'll see. I hope he's good. I always hope Dave Donk's horses are good. Race number 5, and we'll break after 5, kicks off the pick 6, and we are, of course, off the turf in this race.
Which was actually a really fun turf race.
Well, there have been a lot of really fun turf races, and we haven't run any of them. What'd you do here?
I stuck with the 2 based on the type of dirt works that we've been getting from a horse that does have much more of a turf pedigree. But those dirt works have been consistent for the McPeak barn. He keeps this horse in here, and I think this horse could show some speed based on how this one is working. So I kept this one involved.
Okay. Feels like Kenny's probably running him because he wants to get a race into him, but I will see. He cost $164,000 at. He sold. I think he sold at Arcana. Yeah, yep. I think he sold at Arcana in August. The dam is a half. Right? Dam's a half to a very good horse, or he's
a half to Wind Chimes.
Wind Chimes,
Yep.
yeah, who's a good horse. The rest
Yeah.
of them are just okay. I was interested in him on the turf as well. I wouldn't bet a nickel on him on the dirt, but we'll see how that works out. Let's talk about Malerchuk, who Chad Brown does leave in.
You know the story with the name of this one?
No.
Hockey player had a huge incident where he actually got injured on ice with a skate that cut his throat. He almost died.
Okay,
Yeah.
glad we shared that. We don't have any video footage of his stroke getting cut, but I'm sure you can find it on YouTube.
It is on YouTube. in
I'm
fact.
sure it is. He also has a 20 and 4/5 work
Which
at the
was actually
two-year-old
really good.
sale that we can show. And, you know, you look at him, and there's dirt and there's turf. And I was wondering, and it's funny, I talked to Chad Brown yesterday about nonsense, but I actually meant to ask him if he was going to leave this horse in on the dirt.
This was a good work.
But we was too busy talking about stuff of absolutely meaningless stuff. First time I talked to
So it
him, it's in
happens.
Saratoga, actually. But so we had a lot of idiotic things to catch up on. I thought he worked well. I agree. I'm going to leave him in. I'm not going to put him on top, but I think he's dangerous.
Yeah, I picked him second.
Yeah. I just think. I mean, I don't know what price he's going to be, but I thought Rocket Knight, who they bet a lot on the first time out and took a lot of money in off the turf race, and I know they entered him on the dirt, but I don't know. This horse, they obviously liked him
horse any
first
good?
time. I don't know. We'll find out today. But I'm gonna take him today. We'll see what price he is. I mean, I'm guessing, will Chad's horse be favored in here, or
Well,
Linda of Rice take money on the outside? The 16. No
Yeah.
16s for you. A good Magic.
no,
Really?
really,
Okay. Really? Okay.
really.
All right. I thought that horse actually ran okay last time out.
Okay.
I'm going to use that horse. Who else are you having here?
The 6, Skylar Ziderman's taking the blinkers off. It's actually a really positive stat for blinkers coming off for John Terranova, which I was looking at for the turf, but it still applies on the dirt. I don't know. This horse ran okay first time out, not great, but
Well, I mean, he got beat 41 lengths. He ran horribly first time out. He took money in the same race that Rocket Knight took money. He did no running. Rocket Knight did a little bit of running, but he ran so badly that maybe it's too bad to be true. We'll see what happens in race number 5. We'll take a break. We'll be back with the late pick 5 after a quick message from our friends at Saratoga Springwater.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Sarah and Andy, we are back for the late pick 5 here, and we are off the turf today. Track is fast though, but man, did we get a lot of rain. That was a little depressing, to be honest with you. Race number 6. There's a horse in here that's going to be, I don't know, 2 to 5,
the biggest
1 to
favorite on
5.
the card.
Maybe the biggest favorite being Run America today. I mean, we'll look at Digitized Maiden Win. I don't think it's any particularly newsflash, but this has turned out to be an actual key race. Horses are coming out of this race and running extraordinarily well in subsequent starts. You have to go no further than race number 3 and look at the MTO and their Quality Chic. Ran a 75 and came back and ran an 86. Black Rain was in here and he came back and improved very, very strongly as well. But they're not the only ones. Horses have been coming out of this race and running. I'm not even sure the rail was good. He dropped over the rail at the end. I mean, he's going to be an enormous favorite. Good luck to beating him.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to beat this horse either. And, this race was a little bit more interesting when Acoustic Avenue was still involved, but there's no way that horse has the same kind of
It was
ability.
interesting. He had a chance to beat the 16, 11.
No, but he was a little bit more interesting as the horse didn't go.
I don't know
without a
why he
second
scratched. I don't get it either. He didn't run any better in the turf than he did in the dirt. I don't quite understand why he scratched.
chance. He was the one that should have stayed in from that.
Yeah, I don't
three-part
understand at
entry.
all. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I liked him a lot or not, but I
No,
don't.
but
I
he
don't-
was a clear horse to have in the top 4 because there's nowhere else to necessarily go. Once you get past Digitize, they all look kind of the same.
I
no?
think it's very unlikely he would have run better in the turf than he was going to run in the dirt today. I was very surprised. Now, maybe he had an issue, and that's why he came out. The horse I don't really want in here is Octopus. We'll take a look at his win at Santa Anita. I mean, this horse loses the next start after this at Los Alamitos at 2-5. I know it's random David Jacobson, but claim for 10,000. He had avoided claim in here. He was claimed for 10,000. I don't know. Jacobson, I should never go too far out on a limb one way or the other, but
He does not look to be coming in with the same type of form as some of the other Jacobson horses have in the past and even on this card itself. So
I'm not sure that even matters with him, but I don't know what form means in Jacobson horses. But I think 12th Man is the only horse. There's a chance against Digitize, and I think that chance is minimal. He's always been a pet of mine, but he's also had some trips in his races. But in this race,
he's
the
faced some
other
good
horse.
horses in the past, but he also doesn't always run consistently.
No, he just isn't quite as good as the horses he's running against in this race. If Digitize doesn't show up for some reason, he will probably win. Race number 7. Race number 7 is a question of first-time starters and sales workouts, et cetera, versus a horse in Book of Wisdom, the number 10, who you have second and I have fourth. Feel free to throw in a fourth pick if you want. I mean, I thought he ran fine in here. I think the winner's actually okay. I just feel like there are too many horses that might be runners making their first start for him to win today. It would be a surprisingly mediocre bunch of firsters that cost a lot of money, that have workouts, for him to win today.
Well, with her too, I wonder what they might
excuse me.
do with her early, because this is a horse that in both of her 2 starts, she's actually broken really sharply and been the first horse to kind of be seen and breaking the line. But then they let her settle and don't persevere and go on with it with
Well, that's
her.
what Junior usually does. He was very aggressive the other day, and it paid off. But he's not. He normally is content to sort of stalk. But isn't what she does early going to be a function of what the firsters do?
Sure, but I wonder if they might let her actually go on with it instead of taking her back a little bit more. But I
Good
don't
luck
feel-
with that.
I don't feel like it's going to make a difference. I didn't pick her on top either.
No,
but
I'm not saying whether it make a difference or not. It just doesn't feel like, with post 10 also, are they really going to go out to a drive to try to outrun everybody here? I mean, I hear what you're saying.
It's just I
But-
see the gate speed and then it not being utilized in the way that it perhaps could have been in the past.
Not connections that are overly aggressive with horses in general. And the funny thing is that Junior's done it a few times lately. He's been aggressive. He's been great. He did it with a turf horse up in Saratoga and wired a field, super aggressive. I wish he would be more aggressive. I think Junior's a terrific rider. I just wish sometimes he was a little more aggressive, because the other thing is you become kind of predictable.
Sure.
And I think one of the reasons that Flavien Prat is good is he's not predictable. Of all the riders here, he's the least predictable rider. He can go, he can rate. It just seems like a lot of times it's not that hard to figure out what riders are going to do. And a lot of times it's just the worst they're riding. So you've taken the expensive Wesley Ward Omaha Beach.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how good Wesley Ward is with his 2-year-olds. That's not new information. But state breds on this circuit, he's only sent out 5 2-year-old first-time starters in dirt sprints over the past 5 years. 3 of them have won. A 4th has finished 3rd, and the 5th one that didn't really run that well, that was 5th, actually was the biggest price of them all. 9-1, and it's a positive ROI of $2.68. So when they're spotted like this, for a horse that was training at Keeneland, that is a New York bred, they do tend to show up and do well.
I get it. You're still talking about horses that paid an average price of $440 or $460 on that ROI. He won with 3 of 5 of them. And the thing I'd be interested in that stat is how many of them were run in races in April or early May at Belmont? Races here and races at Belmont, as opposed to a race like this. Now, I'm not saying they are, but I would like to look at that stat and see were they early 2-year-olds.
Yeah, I'll revisit.
Because he's running against
Actually,
potentially.
I can do it now.
You know what I'm saying? She's
Yeah,
running. You know what I'm
no.
saying? Potentially, she may have. You can look it up. I mean,
Yeah,
I just
sure.
think I'd be interested in
Let's
that
find out.
because she may have just been that typical Wesley Ward thing where he's running them in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of the year and he's very good at cranking them up. And now he's got a Rick Dutrow horse we'll take a look at right here. We'll take a look at the workout for Granadilla that worked 10 flat. Now, I thought this horse was pretty hard ridden in here, but this horse still looked pretty good. And they paid a lot of money. Now, has some pedigree, but is after Eyewitness, but a practical joke. I think this horse is dangerous. I definitely think Unfuega is dangerous for, for Jeremiah Engelhardt, who's been terrific with his firsters in general. So I'm going to use them as well. And I just wonder if this is one, and Wesley may be good. I also wonder, I don't recall seeing Wesley with a Leal horse. Do you?
No.
He probably has had one. I don't know what that means anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's actually all been, except for one, which was in July, at the very, very end of July, in an off-the-turf race at Saratoga.
Jesus.
They have, that's a fun sound.
That's awful.
They have all been May, so that is a good distinction.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
This horse has some pedigree too, but that is
No,
a good
no, I'm
distinction
not-
to make.
Yeah, I'm not saying the horse. Listen, it's Wesley Ward. It just feels like one of the reasons he's so good with 2-year-olds, and
Because
why
he
he
gets the
used to
jump on
win
them.
in
Yeah.
Ascot, is he used to have the edge sort of in conditioning. But this is a lot of money to be paid for a horse, so I'm not going to be surprised when this
You know who
horse
she's
can
a
run.
have to?
I wrote it down. Yes, yeah, of course I do. Venti Valentine and Espresso
Espresso shot.
Espresso Shot. Oh, my friend Jay is right. She was a have to. He had a Rest Me Red.
Oh,
to lay
okay.
out. So there you go. So the answer is there. Yeah, no, I think this just has the look
Of a better race.
of a tough. Doesn't mean the 7. The 7 might be the reason it's better, but it just seems like, and that's more why I'm against the 10 than anything else. I would rather use a bunch of the firsters in here, like the 3, 5, and 7. And the 7's probably going to be short just because of the purchase price and Wesley
Well,
Ward.
it's also Wesley. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll see. Interesting race number 8. This is a bring back from Saturday, right?
This one?
Yeah, this was oh, you probably didn't do as deep a
didn't-
dive
I
as the
didn't-
rest.
I didn't
You didn't
dive
have
in.
to, right?
No.
Okay, race number 8. Race number 8's a fun race. I'm glad this race came together. I don't know how easy it's going to be to come up with a winner in this race. I was going to start with, for some reason, Mr. JT, because I thought he and your pick, Cousin Andrew, were sort of similar together. I don't want to take horses that are Wayne Potts. I don't know the last time he's won a race in New York, and these horses were running in $7,000 claiming races out of town. I know that these
Cousin
horses
Andrew
here.
used to be okay, at least.
So what?
Well, it's not the same as Mr. JT, I'm saying.
Oh well, but then you could argue Mr. JT isn't currently in the best form of his career, if you want to use that logic. But he is, right?
Sure.
I mean, I'm not going to bet him. He's got IRAD. He's going to take a lot of money. I don't really love him. I don't get Cousin Andrew at all, but have at it.
I mean, he's just been in good barns on this circuit in the past and then kind of fell apart. And I feel as though he's sort of trying to refine that form that he once used to have. And Juan Carlos Guerrero was able to pick him up for $7,500, win 2 starts with him in a row. They were at least consistent, the same number of a 74 Beyer speed figure. And I appreciate consistency of any type at this level, at least, rather than having these numbers that jump off the page all of a sudden that you hadn't really seen in the past. So I like that he was able to put 2 races back to back that were winning ones with the same type of number per 10 strike. And this is a jockey that was riding over at Canterbury Park this summer. Prior to that, Turf Paradise, recently over at Park. So if you don't recognize the name, some of you out there, that's why. But I feel as though just some recent changes for this horse have improved him lately. He'll have to still be pretty decent to face this field, especially with Bourbon's Hope to the outside and a couple of others. But I thought it would be a fair enough price.
Okay. I don't want to trust him on his Parks form. We'll see how the shipping back here works for him. Striking Speedo I picked here. This is a good spot for Trevor to be aggressive and put him in front because he is faster than these horses early. And you look at his races and you look at his race 3 back. I think we can fairly say he runs his race 3 back. He's a very, very tough player in this race. Does he have to win? No, but he is 12-1 morning line. Then the rail was good and he chased outside in a wicket pace that collapsed. And then he's in against much better horses on a muddy sealed track, and he's not a horse that's ever run particularly well on muddy sealed tracks. So now he gets back to a fast track. He is on paper the main speed. I got to give him a shot because if he gets back to that race, and that race doesn't live in isolation, his race 5 back is good enough. I think he deserves another shot at the bottom level on a fast track as opposed to muddy and sealed because I just thought he was a little bit interesting taking him in there. Listen, I'm not going to be surprised if Bourbon Hope on the outside wins this race, and we'll take a look at him beating Ensign Parker 2 back. I don't like Bourbon's Hope particularly as a horse. I didn't like him at all last time, but it's still a Linda horse that at times runs well enough to win, and I'm scared of him.
And he was really aggressive last time, and he was aggressive in this race too, but he allowed Ensign Parker to actually pass by him, switch to the outside, and was able to pass by this horse on the outside, which is something that he did in the start prior where there was a lot of pace contenders in that race. He was always outside. Last time out, he was inside of other horses, and I kind of wonder if he's that type that doesn't necessarily want to be in that position and he draws so favorably in here with some early speed as well. So I don't know that that's necessarily true. He could have just not run that well last time as he was pressured on the lead there, but seeing it twice where they make an active move to let a horse pass by and then go to the outside in that race before that, and then being outside 3 starts ago, I kind of wonder if he's that type.
You have the 2 winning drive third. I saw that David Aragona likes him. My friend Nick Tamaro likes him. I don't get him at all. I know he's dropping the bottom level, and that's the level he was claimed from. I just thought this was a much tougher field. I never liked this horse. Where is his?
The track last time?
I don't care.
It wasn't good enough anyway.
It doesn't matter. Where is his race to get to in the last basically 10 starts that wins the race? That's my problem. Isn't the whole field almost the whole field just faster than him?
I could use him underneath at some sort of price in here because he does have that race 3 back when second to Prince James, which wasn't awful. It's not as good as some of the other top horses in here. But
borderline awful.
He's going to be a fair price, and he does have a legitimate excuse last time.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was, if people wondering last time, he was on a racetrack that was carrying speed. But, for me, I can't find his race to get back to, but obviously other people like this horse as well. Race number 9 is off the turf. Anybody surprise you that came out? They're going to run Maxwell Esquire in here. Well,
Disarmed, too.
Well, Disarmed can run on the dirt.
Isn't he a little bit better on the turf?
Yeah, but his last dirt race he won.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised he stayed in.
Okay.
I didn't particularly like him, but I'm not surprised he stayed in. We'll take a look at Win for Gold, who I believe you have on top, and I have, Z-Bear you have on top. We'll get to him.
Yep.
Win for Gold's the horse to beat. I just kind of wonder if a horse that had trouble winning races kind of got good in Saratoga, and I wonder if he's going to come back here and
what's the ceiling,
show this form.
Right? What's the ceiling for him, right? Has it already been reached? Is it yet to be reached as far as whether or not he's going to keep running these types of races?
Well, if he runs his last 2 races, he's probably going to win here.
Right. I just wonder if he's going to keep backing it up over and over again.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, is he going to
I'm
hold
agreeing
that
with you.
Saratoga form?
Yeah.
And I wonder a little bit. He had a very easy situation 2 back. Thought he ran well last time, to be fair.
Yeah, that was a good battle with the
Yeah.
2 of them. He did have to actually, fight for it.
Yeah. I just wonder if he can hold that form as well, and that's one of the reasons I bet against him.
Foolish Ghost supposed to show some speed to his outside, though he actually really wasn't that forwardly placed last time at Monmouth, and I wonder if he's losing a little bit of the speed he once had. But
It's a 5 furlong race.
and the start before that on dirt, he was still up close. So I wonder if these 2.
It says reluctant loading. Maddie Oliver, she is not shy about sending horses, so I agree with you. He is supposed to go in this race, whether or not he does, but I think that's a very, very valid point that he could go and put some pressure. We'll take a look at Z-Bear's, I think his last race.
Second to
Yep.
Mariachi? Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just really respect the horse that he hasn't been able to get by twice when he's been sprinting in Mariachi. And, when he ran in that race that was at a mile 2 back, I just don't think that's what he wants to do. And I don't think Linda Rice thinks that either. I think he was just able to get the distance that day against a field that made it easy to do so. And I feel as though he's much better sprinting. He's going to be coming slightly from off the pace. I think he's well spotted in here, and he should get at least some sort of pace to chase with Foolish Ghost and Win for Gold. Is it enough? I don't know, but he's in good form lately.
Yeah, no, I've got him second. I've got nothing against him in here. I like the 11 running with Scissors. I want to give this horse a chance for Joe Sharp. I realize his recent dirt form was not good, and he's certainly not being contentious off that, but I thought if Joe left this horse in, it's probably a good sign. And I thought he was an interesting horse for Joe off the claim. He's got back dirt races that would make him super, super competitive in this race. And I'm just kind of hoping he can get back to one of those races. And I thought it would, he's the kind of horse I picked thinking, I'm not certain he's going to stay in. If he does, I want to take a small shot with him. And by the way, you mentioned their speed. What exactly is Winner's Laugh going to do? I mean,
Yeah, doesn't he have to be involved?
you would think, and we'll take a look at his race on March 19th, actually, because the thing about him with Irad, he's never won a race rating. I think he was very interesting on the turf. I thought he's run well on the turf, and he was
Yeah. No, I
chasing a
picked him
quick
on the
pace
turf,
last
but
time. But
here we are.
he's never won a race without the lead. He's got 3 wins, and every single time he had the lead.
Don't
and
they at least have to try then?
Right,
Yeah,
and
I
there's
don't
only-
think he's quite fast enough, but they have to at least try.
Oh, I'm not. He's pretty quick, this guy. I mean, I'm not so sure he can't be competitive in here. He's not as fast as Win for Gold, but he's not that much slower. And I just figured Irad's supposed to at least try with him because he's never won rating. So I'm not sure you really want to try to rate him. I'm not in love with his chances here, but he is a horse that has dirt races that give him a chance. I'm just afraid the pace scenario doesn't set up for him. That it?
Yeah, I think so. We do have one more race, but
Oh,
that's-
Pratt is on Winner's Laugh.
Oh, okay.
Who will probably be, thank you, I knew that actually, my friend Steve just
That
mentioned that.
is good to know.
Yeah, I think he's got to be forward in here. We'll see how it works out. Race number 10, well, it was a skullbuster on the turf. There is now a heavy favorite, though, with
Yes,
the 16
yeah.
strapped, dropping down. I don't trust this horse, but he's obviously way the horse to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love him. I wish there was somebody else, and he's had a couple of chances. But this is a horse that's just been facing much tougher horses. He ran into Black Rain for Pletcher last out, who debuted against Digitize, 3 back at Gulfstream in June versus Cape Trafalgar. He came back to run second at Saratoga with a 93 Beyer to Ever So Mischievous, and 4 starts ago, second to Big Data, who's run second or first in all 5 starts since, and 91 Beyers in his last 2. So who of here is of that same quality that he's been facing in the past?
Well, I mean, his races speak for themselves. They're
There's
against
nobody.
better horses, and there are a bunch of bad turf horses with no form whatsoever. But I still want to take a shot with John Terranova and Bolt de Plata. I thought if they stayed in here, first time out was in a race that was dominated on the front end. I thought he could be a little bit interesting in here. I'm looking at something here. Also, he was on the rail that day. I'm trying to look at my. Yeah, he broke slow in that race and spent a lot of the race on the rail. And I think there's a chance that August 10th rail was dead. So I do think he may have had a viable excuse in that race. And I just wanted somebody to take a shot against Strapped, who I don't totally trust, but he'll probably win this race by 8 lengths.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him as
Pay
the other
$3.
horse with a little bit of a trip on debut. Then they switched surfaces. He's underexposed, only making his 3rd start, and first time dirt routing. So there's not a lot else going on.
All right, Sarah, thank you. That does it for today's card, Off the Turf. For those handicapping tomorrow, we are expecting a reasonable amount of rain tomorrow, so I would not be overly optimistic about turf tomorrow. At some point, perhaps, it'll stop raining, but right now it just seems like one of these things where it just keeps on raining.
Yes.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow. So if you're looking at tomorrow, expect Off the Turf, but still, there could be opportunities in those races. So you always, I think the dumbest thing you can do is say, oh, they're off the turf, I'm not going to look. You should look. If you don't find anything you're interested in, you don't find any alternatives, because there is value in off the turf
Well,
races
they're
on
frequently
occasion.
missed bets. So
Right.
sometimes some
So-
of my best opportunities have been with horses that are not taking any money, and they should be.
Right. I think the notion of somebody who says, oh, they're off the turf, I'm not playing today. Well, I mean, take a half an hour, 20 minutes, and look through races and just see if you
There's
think there might be some
often less
interesting
horses,
things.
too.
Because some of the races held together fine. The dirt races held together fine today. It is what it is. Head over to Naira Bets if you're not a member. Use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match up at $200 of your initial deposit. What else? We have a middle pick 4, races 2, 4, and 7 in our 10-race card today. And we're on from 1 to 6 today, covering all the action on FS2. Sarah, thanks again. Johnny I, he'll be up next in about 15 minutes with a reprise of the Scratches and Changes. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.